Hey everybody, it's Rhiannon. It is Tuesday here at Witches of the Moon, and this week's topic is numerology. I'm going to make this really quick because this is my third time trying to do this video, and it's just been that kind of a day. I am not traditional when it comes to numerology. At least I don't feel that way. I don't go by definitions in a book. My feelings towards numbers are based on my own personal experience of gathering information of what happens for me when these numbers show up in my life. I did find my birth number and my name number by, traditional way, which is, of course, for your birth number, you add up your birth date. So if your birthday, is, 6/1/1990, that kind of thing, you add all those numbers up, and if you, whatever number you end up with, you add it until you get a single number, and that's your birth number. The same thing with your name. Each letter of the alphabet represents a number. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and you add that up, first, middle, and last name, and you add all those numbers, and you keep doing it until you get a single number. So if you end up with, 130 as your number, you add 1 and 3 and 0, and that gives you 4. So 4 would be your name number. There are different websites you can find, different books that will give you what those numbers mean for those things. Every book is different from what I've read, which is why I kind of stopped paying attention to what the book said. I would take the commonalities of it and maybe use that to build my own interpretation. But I don't strictly go by a book, no more than I go by what a book would mean in dream interpretation, because what I see in dreams a lot of the times isn't what the book will tell me. For instance, if I dream of the number 3, I know that is a message for me. It used to be I was very fearful of the number 3, because the first time I saw it, I was being handed 3 rotted bananas in a dream, and then my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer a few days later that was terminal. So I always got nervous when I saw the number 3. I'm like, oh my God, it's it's an omen, it's a death omen, it's, I hate the number 3. And then I realized later, when I dreamt about finding 3 pennies in a corner, and then ended up with a raise on my next check, I was like, oh, okay, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just a sign. This is something that you need to pay attention to. I'm not somebody who is very intuitive. I can be if I'm concentrating, but a lot of times my brain is just pew all over the place, and I get a lot of my messages in my dreams, and I pay very close attention to letters, numbers, and colors. If people want me to interpret dreams for them, and they say, well, I dreamt of snakes, what does that mean? My first question is, what color and how many? Because to me, those are very important. Like I said, my number meanings are very important to me. They are something that I've deducted in a personal way. Like I said, number 3 is something I feel like I have to pay attention to. 5 is usually something of a very sexual nature, whether it be, if I, dream of the number 5, depending on the circumstances of the dream, maybe that means someone is, unwanted attention. Maybe I remember dreaming about the number 5 when I first started working at a department store, and within a couple of weeks, there was this guy there. He was one of our maintenance people, and he began like hardcore flirting with me, and it was very uncomfortable. He was older, and it was just weird. I was 18. He had to be in his 50s. It was just made me very uncomfortable, and I'm really hard to make uncomfortable. But it was a symbol for me. And I come to realize that when I see the number 5, that's typically what it is. It's something in sexual nature, If I dream of my husband handing me 5 roses, then, that means, something different in the daylight for me. That's a peaceful thing. That's something maybe between me and my husband, that kind of thing. So I definitely pay attention to my dreams. And, you know, 4 for me has always been completion. And I think that's a pretty generic one. That one does make sense. To me, it's a box. It's all 4 sides. It's completely closed. It's completion. 3, I've seen 3 in a lot of books mean a family gathering or a gathering of some kind. And that's just not ever been what it's meant for me. And maybe it has something to do with the fact that it's one of my signs. It's one of my numbers. So it could be that it's that. But, you know, 2, of course, I think it's a union. I mean, that one's pretty generic. 2 is being brought together. Whether it be a wedding, whether it be a relationship mended, maybe between 2 friends, that kind of thing. And 1 is yourself. Numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, I don't have any particular feelings towards them myself when it comes to dreams. I'm still working on those to figure out what those mean to me. 13, typically for myself, because I started dating my husband. We didn't get married on the 13th, but we started dating on May 13th. And so that was our anniversary that we celebrated a long time ago. And had we been able to, we would have been married on that day. But if I dream of 13, then I know it has something to do with us. I do not like even numbers. If I see even numbers, I tend to be a little bit more leery. I prefer odd numbers right down to, I will, you know, if my gas price ends up being $38, I'm going to either round it up to where it's 38.01, or I'm going to see if I can't push it to 39. That kind of thing. I do not like even numbers. For whatever reason, I have a huge issue with even numbers. But that's just how I do it. I don't really practice numerology when it comes to actually sitting down and doing all of that with it. I really just pay attention to numbers, and the feeling that I get behind the numbers. At some point, when I figure them all out for me, they will end up in my book of shadows, and maybe then I'll share a little bit more. But again, to me, it's personal. So what I get from these numbers may be completely different. You know, number 3 is my number, and I don't really judge that as a bad or good omen, just depending on what the 3 is of. But somebody else may absolutely hate that number and find that bad things happen with them when they dream or see number 3, and that's perfectly fine, which is why I just don't like to give interpretations based on my thoughts and feelings. If I'm doing dream interpretations, then I'll grab a book and kind of piece together a little bit, and then maybe ask that person, does this mean something to you? Is it a birth date? Is it something important? Does anybody important to you have it? And then, you know, they say, you know, well, that's my birthday, then I'm thinking that the dream is probably telling them something about themselves, that kind of thing. But that's how I use my numbers. That's how I do numerology. I'm hoping that helps you guys maybe come up with ways of doing it yourself, or maybe even paying more attention to what you're seeing around you. I'm sorry that this is what you're looking at. You know, it's been a very, very hectic weekend. I wanted to sit down and actually do a video and show you guys how to find your name and numbers, but it has been so busy. I haven't even had a chance to move. This is the only time I've really had a chance to sit down and do anything. So, anyway, check out your name and number. Check out your name, number, your birth number. Research it. It really does tell a lot about you. And pay attention to what you're seeing in your dreams in your day-to-day life, because numbers are everywhere and they do mean something. And until next week, I hope you guys have a fabulous week, and I will see you guys soon.